Next on the Broadway show, Play Ball. We're in the dugout with one of the stars of the revival of Take Me Out, the incredible Jesse Williams. Plus, Welcome to Paradise. We're hanging out with one of the stars of the riveting new musical, Paradise Square. And Broadway Hall of Famer Betty Buckley is here to take a walk through her incredible career. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is the Broadway show. Each and every week, we are fired up to bring you the Broadway show. That's why I'm so glad you're here. I'm Tamsen Fadal. Batter up, the revival of Take Me Out is finally returning to Broadway with a star-studded cast. Paul Wontorek is here now, throwing heat with one of the major players in Take Me Out, Jesse Williams.
Thanks, Tamsen. Best known for his performance as Dr. Jackson Avery on TV's Grey's Anatomy, Take Me Out marks Jesse's Broadway debut. We talked about him getting his game face on for the stage and so much more at the Renaissance Hotel. Jesse, welcome to Broadway.
Thank you.
How's Broadway treating you?
Wonderfully, wonderfully. I'm having a time of my life. It's terrifying and exciting. It just all rolled into one. It's a thrill ride.
You're in previews now. You're heading towards opening night.
Yeah.
You're in front of audiences.
Yeah.
What is it like actually getting in front of everybody?
It's incredible. Our audiences have been great. They're listening. They're attentive. The material is so rich and dense and layered, and it unfolds in a really unorthodox way. So I definitely feel tethered to the audience. We're feeling this connective energy with them. So you couldn't ask for a better group, both on stage and in front of it. It feels good. It feels good. That first show was, thrilling and stressful. But I'm having fun. I try to turn any nervousness into excitement and anticipation.
You play Darren Lemming.
Yeah.
Who may or may not be inspired by some real pro baseball players in terms of personality. He's a real confident guy who has found great success in the game. A lot of confidence in that character. Is that easy for you, for Jesse, to connect to?
For pieces of my lived experience and folks I've been around, yeah. You gotta believe it yourself before you expect anybody else to believe it. You gotta be a little irrational. You got to be really committed and then combine that with an incredible skill set.
All the action of the play sort of jumps off the very beginning. He announces to the world he's gay. Richard Greenberg, when he wrote this 20 years ago, I think it was sort of like a fantasy. Well, imagine if a pro athlete actually did this. We have actually seen some athletes come out of the closet in those 20 years. It almost feels like an impulsive, he just sort of does it. But because of who he is, he's able to just sort of make the announcement and then it sets the play in motion. Yeah,
it's an interesting entree to it because a lot of stakes are established in that preface, that period of anticipation, stress, strain, practicing. You don't see any of that, as you said. He comes out and really pretty casual demeanor, and couches it in language that is about, but I'm still here to play the game, we're still just here to have fun, let's go on out there and play ball. And Richard is very specific in his language, every syllable is there for a reason, and there's a reason that we start, I'd say not only, we start the moment after I've said those choice words, right? It's a little, it's really interesting, it's like the end of my press conference, after I've actually come out technically, and it's really about me telling everybody how to behave and that we're all just going to move on. Darren doesn't actually change the way he behaves. He doesn't do anything differently. Everybody else's projection onto him is what they think that means, or what they think that you think, that I think that you think that means. And so that speaks to some of the fragility and what we consider kind of heteronormative masculinity and the performative quality of it and vulnerability and being honest and male relationships in general. All of that stuff is so ripe for story and drama and tension and betrayal.
I also love the dynamic between Darren and Mason, played by the other Jesse, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, who is an openly gay guy who sort of discovers his love of baseball, which is such a beautiful thing about this play. What is it like sort of developing that relationship with him? They're really opposite sides of the gay community.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. Man, I mean, Jesse Tyler, I can't say enough about him. He's not only just a stellar performer and human being, he's so charming and inviting and generous that I sometimes get lost in his performance while I'm on stage with him. It's really wonderful to behold. It is a wonderful relationship. He's so charming, and it's kind of the only relationship that Darren has in the play where there's no threat of antagonism.
Right.
right? He actually makes a safe space for me. He's calm, he's vulnerable, he wants to learn, and it allows Darren to kind of relax and be playful in a way that Kippy points out. A lot of the straight players on the team feel like they've lost by me coming out. My presence now has made it difficult for them to be playful anymore because they have to overcompensate to prove that they're not me for some silly reason that is deeply entrenched in American masculinity.
When you do a Broadway play, you're with this group of actors and you're doing the same material every night, but obviously it adjusts night to night. Is there a parallel at all with that and doing something like Grey's Anatomy, where you're working with the same group of people over long periods of time, but different words every week?
Interesting. Yeah, that's a fair comparison. In theater, though, it's certainly heightened because we are all on that high wire together, and the slightest gust of wind, the slightest misplacement can throw the whole thing off. So we have to constantly kind of have our muscles activated. You don't get to rest in off-camera work. You don't get to be half in wardrobe. You don't get to be sitting on an apple box. All these little behind-the-scenes things. Everybody's in full tilt, 360 degrees available, and that's taken some learning.
Time for another big Broadway premiere. It's Paradise Square, a new musical about New York City's draft riots of 1863, starring a recent Tony nominee at the center of the cast. Let's send it out to Charlie Cooper.
Thanks, Tamsen. Joaquina Kalukango is returning to Broadway, this time in a new musical. We got to chat with her about Paradise Square right here at the Time Hotel. So we're super excited to have you here. The last time we chatted, of course, was virtually. Great to have you just here in person. We were talking about your Tony nominee, and now you're originating this new role. Talk to us about what that means for you and how you're feeling right now.
I am so excited. I am a huge champion of new works, and this piece is so incredible, so timely. It's an epic new musical, like our cast is 40 deep. And so I'm so excited to bring this story to the Barrymore.
Talk to me about just how closely, or maybe not closely, you identify with your character and what you hope to bring to that role.
More so, I'm learning to try to carry her strength. I think she is, she's such a progressive thinker. She's always moving forward for a woman, especially of her time. And her power, how she stands up for her community, her care and her love for her people is something to admire and something to try to pursue. I don't think I'm there yet, for sure.
So I want to know a little bit about whether this felt like a history lesson for you. Like, did you feel like you learned a lot from this role and from the script in general? Because it's obviously touching on the New York City draft riots of the 1860s, and it may or may not have been something you were familiar with prior to. So talk to me about that learning process.
It absolutely was not a part of my history class, and I took AP history, and it was so great, and it was not a part of our lessons. So I did a lot of research. I read like 8 books. I kind of go a little overboard sometimes because I like to immerse myself in the world. Jason Howland just provides this beautiful score for this sweeping epic piece. It's beautiful. I'm so honored to be a part of this piece.
A big part of this production is the dancing, right? Mm-hmm. And the story that's happening just between the dancers and what's happening in the show. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
All I can say is you have never seen anything like this. We have Hammer Step has come in to choreograph the Irish step dance in this show. And of course, Bill T. Jones and Chloe has really created this incredible movement of African and Juba dancing, as well as a mix of tap. And so to see it all kind of mixed together, which is what the 5 points did, bring these 2 cultures together, is gonna be electric.
So Paradise Square is like this saloon, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to ask you, if Paradise Square were a real place, what would you be sipping on?
A Manhattan with Makers Up.
Ooh, okay, I like this girl. I like this girl.
Still plenty more to talk about on this edition of The Broadway Show. Coming up, we're getting to know one of Broadway's fresh new faces. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is The Broadway Show. Betty Buckley is a Broadway legend, a Tony winner who's been called the voice of Broadway, and she's still making music with the recent release of Betty Buckley Sings Stephen Sondheim. She took a walk with Paul Wontorek to talk about her incredible career.
She's a Tony-winning theater icon who spends a lot of her time on her beautiful ranch in Texas with her beautiful animals, but today she's on Broadway. Hey, Betty Lynn Buckley.
Hey, Paul.
So good to see you.
I'm so happy to see you.
I'm so thrilled to see you. You are here celebrating an amazing new recording. Betty Buckley sings Stephen Sondheim.
Right.
You have recorded so many amazing Sondheim songs over the years, and you pull them all together with some new things, and people can now enjoy this beautiful tribute to this amazing man.
Like everybody, we all loved and honored him so much. I consider myself a devotee.
Yeah.
And the idea that it's all together in one place as like kind of mini essays about my love for Stephen Sondheim.
Yeah. You have been in many amazing Broadway shows. Today, I want to sort of live through some of these memories.
That's so sweet.
The M word. So we're going to start right here. You were Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard in this mammoth Broadway theater.
Yes.
Mammoth hit, Sunset Boulevard. What are your memories?
Well, that opening night was one of the greatest nights of my life. The place was packed, and from the moment I started, I was just, the audience gave me so much love. I had done the show for a year in London.
Yeah.
I felt literally like I was swimming through love. The love in the audience was completely palpable. I'm living with the remembrance with my knees. 2 years of Sunset Boulevard completely destroyed my knees running up and down those stairs in high heels and heavy gowns.
It was an enormous set. Enormous, and then the whole thing moved up and down, and you looked amazing, and you had the turbans,
Thank you.
and it was definitely a mega musical. That was a big show.
Yeah.
All right, let's head west and
Okay.
go see some more of your amazing career.
Okay.
This is the Jacobs Theater. It was once the Royale Theater,
Yes.
and you graced its stage twice.
Yes.
And of course, we have a Sondheim show right now. Company is
Yes.
here. Sondheim is represented on Broadway right now. But you did an Andrew Lloyd Webber, 2 shows. So Song and Dance, which
Yes.
is a score I actually really love. Andrew Lloyd
Yeah, I
Webber.
love that.
You love that score
Yeah,
too?
I loved it.
I'm really mad I didn't get to see you do that.
Yeah, I kind of begged them to let me do that. Opening night, the end note of la da 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 da.
Unexpected Song.
Yeah, was like a G. I had so much adrenaline that I belted the note on opening night, and my voice teacher was there, Paul Gabbert, and the whole audience, from my perspective, looked like that. Remember that old Memorex commercial where everyone's hair is blown backwards? They all literally were like, oh my God. And Paul comes back and he goes, don't ever do that, not ever. And I was like, I'm sorry, I just had so much adrenaline.
And then you got to come back and do a beautiful little show called Triumph of Love.
A jewel of a show.
A little jewel of a show.
Yeah.
It was, again, the kind of musical that was so great to see in a space like
Yeah,
that.
it was such a beautiful show and incredible cast.
Yeah.
And I was in these incredible costumes
Incredible.
where I walked around like this with my giant panniers. So yeah, it was a wonderful thing.
So the Imperial Theater, a very big, grand Broadway theater.
Yes, it's
You had
fabulous.
2 big successes there. So first, let's talk about Pippin.
Okay, I wanted to be in Pippin so badly because Bob Fosse was directing it. Fosse, was my life when I was a teenager. I studied with 2 of his acolytes who had done a lot of his shows, and they were my teachers in Fort Worth, Texas, and so I knew everything Fosse, you know. And he came back and directed me into the show, Fosse.
Yeah, what was he like?
He was great. He always had this cigarette attached to his lower lip, and the ash would burn all the way down to the cigarette,
that really
but it
happened.
stayed balanced. And and he wouldn't make eye contact, so I was constantly like running around trying to see his eyes to communicate with him. And he taught me some of the greatest lessons about musical theater. He said, Betty, you're a very facile performer. And he said, but when it feels good to you, it's wrong. You need to find that part of yourself that feels awkward.
Wow.
And that's right.
And then the Tony winner, The Mystery of Edwin Drood,
Yeah.
was a
that
big hit here. You
was
got to
so
do later,
great.
and you played Edwin Drood.
I played Alice Nutting,
Yes.
who is a male impersonator who played Edwin Drood, and
Right.
I also played the old man Datchery. That was one of the greatest casts of all time.
Yeah.
And that cast album, I think I will say without a doubt, is one of the greatest cast albums in Broadway history.
We're on 46th Street, and this used to be the 46th Street,
46th
the not
Street
very
Theater.
creatively named 46th Street Theater.
Yeah.
Now Sir Richard Rogers.
This is my first Broadway theater.
This door, the stage door, that's where you walked in to make your
Yeah.
Broadway debut. That's
Exactly.
awesome. Betty Lynn Buckley from Texas, who walked into that stage door. I know she came to Broadway with a lot of pageant and musical theater success from
a
Texas.
lot of musical theater experience.
You did.
And some of the best teachers you
You
can
were the best of
imagine.
Texas.
I was so ready.
You were so ready.
Yeah, I got this show 1776, my first day in New York City, which is true.
First day.
Yeah.
Okay, Betty, so this is the August Wilson Theater. They just put up the Funny Girl marquee, and it
Yes.
reminds me of another marquee
Of
because
the colors of Carrie.
the colors red and black, a little
They
bit of white.
painted the whole interior of the theater black.
I know.
I mean, this beautiful
Well, it's
theater.
Carrie. You were Margaret,
I was Margaret, the cruel and sadistic religious fanatic mother.
and of course you were in the movie.
I played the gym teacher.
Right,
in
you were a
the
gym
movie.
teacher in the movie, so you had a connection to it already.
did, yeah.
Carrie was this, how do you describe? It was this big score.
It was an event.
It was an event.
Yeah, it was schizophrenic, the response to the show. It was just wild. Because people would come in costume
Yeah.
and they would yell at us from the audience.
Yeah,
Like,
could've
I
been a
remember
whole
one day I was
thing.
at the top of the stairs and they were like, Betty Buckley, come on down. It was like so crazy. And I just thought, this is going to be an event where people
Yeah.
come and speak the lines with us, like
Yeah.
Rocky Horror. And it's unfortunate that they didn't go for it.
If marketing was different, it was a different time, it totally would
Yeah.
have happened, yeah. Finally, here we are, the Winter Garden Theater, home of the Music Man, Hugh Jackman, Sutton Foster, but Betty Buckley,
Yeah,
you won your Tony Award
yeah.
while playing Grisabella, the iconic.
But I'll never forget when when they moved into the theater, and this beautiful Winter Garden marquee, and then on that whole sign there was the cat's eyes, and the slogan "Now and Forever."
Yes.
And I remember walking up to this place and just being like, "Oh my God, look at that!" It was really cool.
Your rendition of Memory is legendary.
Thank you.
You don't mind me using the L word.
Thank
And
you.
you still performed the song beautifully. I've
Thank
seen you
you.
perform it. And I love when you perform because you sort of get, you do the little cat, you become,
I
you,
know.
you
As soon as I
become
hear the
feline.
opening chords, I immediately just go
Yes.
into the place and I immediately see everything in
Do
my
you?
imagination that I
Yeah.
saw then. It's always the same place. Yeah, and people say, well, what's the difference in your interpretation and everybody else on the planet who's sung Memory? And the difference is that I actually was a cat.
Wicked is one of Broadway's longest running and best loved musicals, and not long ago we talked about how history was made when Brittany Johnson became the first Black actress to play Glinda. But Jordan Barrow also recently made history. Not long ago he became the first Black performer to play Bach on Broadway, and that's why he's this week's Fresh Face.
My name is Jordan Barrow, and I am playing Bach in Wicked on Broadway. I grew up in Maryland. I did my first show when I was like 8 years old. I was in the 3rd grade. I played Charlie Brown in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And I think my mom just put me into theater camp because I enjoyed talking, quite frankly. I got bit by the bug. The first Broadway show I saw was The Lion King on Broadway, the original Broadway company. I was like 6 or 7 years old, and that is the reason I'm here. I feel like my first Broadway obsession was probably Wicked. A friend of mine recently told me, they were like, you remember that you would always show us different Defying Gravities on YouTube? And I was like, that was me? Yeah, YouTube was new and you showed us Wicked. That was the thing that we did, was watch Wicked YouTubes and videos. My first night as Bach on Broadway was a lot. I had invited a good number of people to see it because you only get your first Broadway night only once. So my parents flew in for it, which was amazing. I had a ton of friends there, and it was just, it was out of body. Bowing on Broadway is like nothing you can ever recreate. It was insanity. I would definitely say being in Wicked right now feels like everything is so much bigger than me because it did just reopen. The director, Joe Mantello, came back in and rehearsed with the cast in September and stuff. So there is just a new life in the show. Being in it right now that Broadway is back and that there have been so many moving parts has felt just like such a joy. I would tell 14-year-old Jordan that he was going to be Bach and it was not going to happen at any moment he thought it was going to happen. And that the last very moment he thought it was going to happen, it would. So whenever he felt really full of doubt, just know that your life was about to change. Because I had been in for Bach 5 different times and 14-year-old Jordan would say, "Why didn't you give up after the first?" And I would say, "Because you just never know."
And that's going to do it for us. Until next time, I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is The Broadway Show.